Hello, and welcome to Temple Street, the show brought to you by the Department of Communication and Journalism at Suffolk University. I'm Mary Boucher.
And I'm Adriana Millsap-Johnson. Today we will look at the recent March for Science in Boston, one advocate's push to educate students about Chinese culture, and how gentrification is changing neighborhoods in Boston. We'll also hear from a local science writer and meet renowned movie critic Wesley Morris.
We will also ask Suffolk students about their dream jobs and meet a few people with dream jobs of their own, including a young and talented artist, a local businesswoman, and a professor who is also an award-winning producer for Channel 7.
We'll end as always with our critic at large, Jessica DiLorenzo. What do you have for us today, Jess?
Today, I will tell you what I think about the Pepsi advertisement that has taken the internet by storm. I will share the good, the bad, and the downright wrong.
I can't wait to hear what you have for us today, Jess. But first, the news. This past weekend, the nation saw protests all across the country in support of science in the fight to stop climate change. The Vark dissident and Sania Mir joined Boston's March for Science and have this story.
Ever since taking office, President Donald Trump has made some controversial policy changes. The most recent one disregarding scientific findings about climate change and budget cuts for the Environmental Protection Agency. This has led to a nationwide protest on Earth Day. We're going to take you inside Boston Science March.
I think that there'll be little change here. It'll go up, it'll get a little cooler, it'll get a little warmer like it always has for millions of years. It'll get cooler, it'll get warmer. It's called weather.
With President Trump believing climate change to be a Chinese hoax and the new director of the EPA making questionable claims about global warming, it is clear that the new administration is going to be taking a very different stance on environmental policy.
First, we must reject as a nation the false paradigm that if you're pro-energy, you're anti-environment, and if you're pro-environment, you're anti-energy.
However, research carried out by the EPA shows carbon dioxide to be the highest contributor to global warming. This disregard for scientific research has led to lots of concerns within the scientific community. Harvard science professor George Church spoke at the march to voice his concerns.
All of you nerds, start running for office. Today we show both gratitude and concern for science funding and for immigrant scientists from all over the world that enable us, their home country, to remain an innovative world leader. Science is not optional.
Marchers included everybody from scientists to students, putting their scientific knowledge into creative science, expressing their concerns.
I think it's valuable for us to understand that science is not a partisan issue. Science is not a protest. Science is a way of understanding our natural world and for making our lives better and improving human health.
And when I really think about the kind of country that I want my child to grow up in, I want them to be protected from environmental pollution.
Science depends solely on research, so cutting funds to research is really inhibiting all scientific discovery.
Marchers also voiced their support for the huge number of immigrant scientists that are the backbone of research in Boston's institution as well as around the country. For Temple Street, Davart Dixit and Sania Mir.
Protesters at the march say supporting science should be a nonpartisan issue and indicate that science issues, especially global warming, affect all of us.
Gentrification continues to force changes on Boston's demographic landscape. In recent years, the city constructed hundreds of new developments and counting. I went out to find out how gentrification is affecting people who live in the hub. The cost of living in Boston has reached historical highs. Real estate experts say there has been an increasing demand for luxury rentals in the city, causing a surge in rental rates. Currently, the average cost of an apartment in the hub is a whopping $2,500, nearly double the national average. Real estate expert Stephen Gooseby says this migration has been going on in the city for several years now.
Trends that I've noticed are rents are going sky high, people are being displaced, and the it's changed drastically over the past couple of years. What I find is that every year, although the market may change, people will always need a place to live.
Those who live in disinvested neighborhoods typically earn half of the city's median income of $68,000. Roxbury's median household income is just $33,000 a year. Residents feel they will eventually be forced out if the wage gap and affordable housing issues in their neighborhoods are not addressed.
You see much less economic diversity in a place because of this income disparity that's happening. I'm not a wealthy person coming from abroad to rent a place. I just need a room in Boston because I'm a student here.
Although the construction of this new wave of living is a commuter's dream, new developments in the city, like the Dudley Square Design Project, have started to displace the nearly 5,000 residents who live in the community as they can no longer afford to stay in the neighborhood.
Honestly, as of now, I don't resign into a home or apartment or because of the cost of living. I've been on the streets for almost like a year and a half. I signed up for every listing, every housing. It's not affordable. My wages it all don't add up. The price of housing is going up every year. The price of MBTA transportation is going up every year. But the minimum wage stays the same.
The city might be trying to attract the kind of people that can afford the luxury prices for their luxury apartments. It all just seems like a big quest for money. And the people who don't have money, they don't care about you. And if you do have money, they want it.
Reporting for Temple Street, Adriana Millsap-Johnson. Boston Mayor Marty J. Walsh recently approved a new development in the South Bay section of Dorchester that includes 475 apartments, a hotel, an AMC movie theater, 1,000 parking spaces, and over 100,000 square feet of retail.
And now to another local story about culture. The increase in the Chinese population around the USA has made Chinese culture an important subject in today's society, and something that we should all know about. Yaxine Wang has more in a public event to raise awareness about the richness of this ancient culture.
The Greater Boston Chinese Culture Association has been working in the Boston area for nearly 60 years to promote public awareness of Chinese culture and heritage. Cynthia Kerr is founder of the Chinese Culture Workshop, which she started because of her doctors.
So 20-some years ago, my older one was the only Chinese girl in the whole school. And I really want to make her feel more comfortable that she's not someone that's strange and she's not from a strange place. So I want to make sure that kids feel more comfortable with China and the Chinese people from China.
Kerr says they offer different programs to different age groups with this workshop geared towards children who are 7 and 8 years old.
Then we made dumplings, and then we made these Chinese paper lanterns.
So you had a fun day?
I've had a very fun day. And we learned some Chinese and calligraphy. Did you have fun? And we had lots of fun.
Children are learning about Chinese culture. For example, how to use brushes for writing Chinese, handcraft lanterns, and how to use an abacus and play mahjong. In addition to the primary school, they also have programs for middle school and high school, like Kung Fu, Chinese painting, Guohua.
This is a great opportunity for the kids to learn about Chinese culture.
And every year, the best field trip of the year from my perspective is to come to the Chinese Cultural Center.
Organizers say this workshop provides environment for people to learn about Chinese culture, language, and art. Kerr says she wants to make sure that kids feel that they're learning something new and having fun.
Chinese culture, it's a fun thing. Okay, so I want them to have that impression. I want them to come here and feel that everything is memorable. So that's my goal.
For Temple Street, I'm Yaxin Huang.
Here at Suffolk University, the Chinese population has been growing for the past 5 years. It's now the largest of all the international student groups.
Pulitzer Prize winner and New York Times critic at large Wesley Morris visited Suffolk's Modern Theater to discuss political influence in filmmaking. Tess Brockmeyer and Cecilia Favela attended the event and got an exclusive interview with the speaker himself.
The Suffolk community joined acclaimed writer Wesley Morris for a conversation about films he says mark America's often turbulent political climate.
The clip that we're going to look at is basically his brainwashing session. So he goes into this room and this is basically what happens.
If you find the test a pleasant experience.
Try to unpack a particular scene or a particular work of art or a piece of music that produces a response, and to try to connect that responds to some other context.
Morris used clips from Rocky, The Parallax View, The Siege, and Key and Peele's Obama and Luther to examine the media's reaction to historical events such as the Cold War, Islamophobia, and the first black president.
Can't even give Malia an allowance without them accusing me of wealth redistribution.
After a lively question and answer session, audience members say Morris brought to light deeper connections between politics and art.
Bring speakers in who can draw our attention to that so that we're not just learning about things from books, but we're looking at popular culture and what does that mean?
I thought it was really interesting in how art and movies and film reflect the pulse of America.
It was really interesting as a broadcasting major to see the connections between films and the political aspects at the time.
Reporting for Temple Street, Tess Brockmeyer and Cecilia Favela.
Morris's article on media and culture are available online, as well as his podcast, Still Processing, via the New York Times website.
Another accomplished reporter, science writer Evan Lebowski, met with journalism students and later sat down with Temple Street reporter Tess Brockmeyer to discuss his career path and the latest discoveries in ocean science.
We are here today with Evan Lebowski, who is visiting Suffolk University to talk about his work in ocean research and writing. Thanks for being here with us today.
It's a pleasure, thank you.
So you are based in Cape Cod and you write about the environment and ocean science. Can you tell us a little bit about what drew you to science and reporting?
Sure, I studied journalism in undergrad, and upon graduating, I got involved with writing about technology used in environmental research. And this was applying my journalism skills to the corporate sector for a company making instrumentation, sensors, weather stations, water quality sensors, those types of things. And through that experience, I got a lot of exposure to scientists and the work they're doing, applying these tools in climate change research, coral studies, things like ocean acidification. And through that experience, it was great work writing about the technologies, but I really became fascinated by the science itself. And I didn't have any kind of formal science background. Again, I studied journalism. But that sort of led me into this career path of writing about science. And I still cover technology as well, but I work now with scientists on their actual research and their findings, and writing news and features about that.
So you graduated from the University of Massachusetts with a degree in journalism, like you said. What were your original plans for your career after graduation?
Yeah, that was a tough one, because at the time I graduated, it was very appealing career-wise to sort of take the path towards traditional journalism, get involved with a local newspaper and that kind of things. At the same time, it's sort of a fork in the road because, oftentimes there are student loans. And at the time, it was a really, when I graduated, it was a really bad time to just get into straight journalism. Right. So I sort of veered off the path and went into the corporate sector, but applying, again, those skills that I learned as an undergrad studying journalism to the corporate sector. And so that involved, again, working with scientists on a lot of case studies and magazine articles about how they're using the technology. And the primary targets there were trade publications, things like Sea Technology, environmental news, and things of that nature.
So the average person is not going to know marine biology
Absolutely.
Or science terms. So what is the key as a scientist and a researcher and a writer in your field to communicating that message?
Simplification. And it's sort of a never-ending struggle. There's a couple of aspects to it. When you're working with a scientist, I guess like most professions, they come in all flavors. Right. But a lot of scientists have trouble sort of coming down to the level of someone that doesn't have a science background. Again, maybe I'm unique there, but my background's in writing and journalism, not science. And so, even from the time you're interviewing a scientist, trying to establish ground rules with them, not worrying about stupid questions, and just being open with them about, look, I need you to explain this to me like you'd be explaining it to a sixth grader, or to a family member. And you have to keep sort of hitting them over the head with that and getting them to sort of, in a way, sort of dumb things down.
So you were speaking earlier about how you are covering some pretty interesting new discoveries from the Civil War era. If you would like to go into some detail about that.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So again, I'm doing a lot of feature writing on science discoveries, and again, most of the work that I'm doing and most of my focused expertise is in the ocean sciences. In fact, I've sort of created more of a niche for myself there. But there is a story I'm working on right now, and it's interesting. I have an inside track on this one, but there's some research going on at Duke University into the potential cause of the sinking of the H.L. Hunley. This is a Confederate submarine, a tiny little thing, basically a 40-foot long tube that 8 sailors were crammed into, and they sort of had to hand crank their way through the water. And what happened in the 1800s during the Civil War is they were on a mission to take out a Union ship called the Housatonic in Charleston Harbor, and they were able to successfully take that ship down. It was huge, a 200-foot long ship, and moments later the submarine sank, and nobody knows why. The story I'm working on is with a researcher at Duke University who isn't part of that research team. She's sort of taken an independent journey into the mystery, and she spent the last few years on it, and she believes she's cracked the case. And so the story I'm writing is about some of the science behind this potential discovery of what sank this Confederate sub.
What advice do you have for students that are studying journalism currently, especially from someone like you who is really kind of taking your career in an unexpected direction?
Sure. I guess the most important thing is exposure to different fields, to different topics, things like that. Yeah, when I studied journalism, I mean, I've always loved the ocean, but when I was studying journalism at UMass, I wasn't thinking of that. I wasn't thinking of science writing. I probably didn't even know much about it at the time. But just making sure you're sort of opening up to different things and getting the exposure to different things, whether it's politics, or whether it's sports or science or whatever you might be interested in. And then obviously trying to get some real world experience, whether it's interning or just trying to do some freelance writing. And this was a big decision for me, is do I go into traditional mainstream journalism, or do I take my skills and try to go into the corporate sector? I think there's a lot of opportunities in both, but there's trade-offs every step of the way.
Well, thank you so much for answering all of my questions and for being with us today. We've learned a lot of different things, from ocean science to journalism advice.
Thank you.
Thank you again, and it's back to you all in the studio.
Lebowski's journey definitely proves that life may take some unexpected turns, but can bring you to a career that you can never expect.
Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after a short break with more inspiring stories.
Yes, Adriana. We will learn about a hardworking businesswoman who is helping students, a very talented young artist, learn more about Suffolk's own Mike Fahey, and of course our critic at large, Jess, will tell us more about the Pepsi ad.
Your son wants to get a cat,
I'll really take care of it.
but you're allergic. Do you A, prepare yourself, B, make the best of it,
C squared equals
25.
Good job!
or C, find a loophole? When it comes to parenting, there are no perfect answers, but that's okay, because you don't have to be perfect to be a perfect parent. Teens in foster care will love you just the same.
Hey, did you know 2.4 million loving cats and dogs in shelters and rescues need our help to find a home? Let's go to the shelterpetproject.org and meet if you are in a shelter near you. Harlow, oh, she's one great listener who loves to hear all your stories. My kind of cat. Cerulo is a sweet, goofy boy who's eager to please. Sounds just like another dog I know. So go to the shelterpetproject.org, search your local shelters and rescues, and go for a cuddle with your next best friend. Adopt.
Every year, high school graduates from around the country go to college with the aspiration of getting that perfect dream job. Temple Street reporter Matt Durkin asked students here at Suffolk to tell us about their dream jobs.
My dream job would be taking the company that I'm already running right now to its fullest potential. So I take all-inclusive yoga practices to 95 workplaces, and right now that's just Boston-based, and it's completely on my own.
My dream job is to work in a PR atmosphere for entertainment and sports because I feel as though the atmosphere is really great and interactive with a bunch of people.
I work in the private sector, somewhere in the Secret Service, the FBI, because I like to protect people, and I want to serve my country and apply what I've learned here at Suffolk University.
It would definitely be to have my own talk show. I've been watching Jimmy Kimmel and Jimmy Fallon for years now, and I love the whole late night feels and the vibes, and they're also comedians, so they're all about making people laugh and putting a smile on people's faces.
Dream job is not really a dream job. I think what I want to do ultimately is to live a very memorable life, and I think how that functions with what I want to do is I'd like to do something academic and something artistic.
My dream job would be to be a food critic. I think it would be a great job because I'd get free meals, which no one hates, and I'd get to try lots of different foods, maybe from different cultures and different places, and yeah, it'd be a pretty awesome gig.
Wow, it sounds like we have some pretty ambitious students here at Suffolk.
Yeah, we do.
Do you have a dream job, Mary?
Yeah, I do. I want to be my host of my own television production show one day. Do you have any dreams or goals that you want to do?
Yes, I'm actually living it right now. I'm an aspiring news anchor.
All right. Well, we're going to make it one day. As a college student, young entrepreneur Elise Franke started painting shoes as a way to raise money and has been fortunate enough to turn her talents into a business. I met with Elise, and this is her story. For most people, we don't see shoes as canvases, but for Elise Franke, that's a different story. Inspired by her desire to do good, she used her artistic skills to get herself out to Guatemala, which in the long run has helped her grow as a person and as a businesswoman.
I started a company called Painting for a Difference that I donate 20% of my profit to this company based out of Guatemala.
When she was 17 years old, she knew she wanted to take a trip to Guatemala to help make a difference and build communities. So she raised money by painting shoes.
We teach all of the villagers how to make the schools out of what they have. So we clean up all of the garbage in their communities and stuff bottles with the garbage, and they're called Eco Bricks. This company is called Hug It Forward.
Elise was surprised by the response she got when she first started painting shoes as a way to raise money. She wants to make sure her newfound business is still socially conscious.
Yeah, I've always just had a heart for giving to people, and once I actually went there and saw, not only did I feel like I was helping them, but I felt like they were helping me.
She also just signed a contract illustrating an entire children's book that is going to be released soon.
Well, I'm getting 50% of everything.
In the works of creating her own shoe company and illustrating a book has led her to other artist opportunities.
Yeah, and I just recently started expanding to murals.
She will continue making an impact through her art. This is Mary Boucher from Temple Street. I get so inspired when I see my peers are able to pursue their talents and make careers out of something they love doing.
That was a great story, Mary. And on to one local businesswoman who started a college career mentorship program hoping to empower graduating seniors before they enter the workforce, while taking on issues such as wage gap and the work environments. Temple Street reporter Matt Durkin has the story.
It's that time of year again, and female students graduating from Suffolk University are tired of giving that same answer to the ill-fated question, do you have plans after graduation?
Nope.
Nope.
No.
And as if graduating college wasn't stressful enough,
American Association of University Women, these women make only 82 cents on the dollar compared with men 1 year after graduating. So women take out the same loans to go to college, but they face an even steeper road to repay those loans.
The wage gap is one of the many gender-specific obstacles that women face when entering the job market every single day. One local female business owner, Rhonda Lee, wants to use her experiences to empower young women entering the workforce by creating a college-to-career platform called Acknowledge Her.
Who do you want to work for? What do you want to do? Maybe you don't know what you want to do, but let's really start to look at companies that you like, their culture, what they stand for, their location, and really kind of pull that all together and then rise above the noise of male, female.
One of Lee's interns, Suffolk senior Eden Monson, feels Lee's program has taught her valuable life lessons.
Be more of an extrovert and speak out when I notice an issue or something that is wrong.
With graduation coming up in just 4 short weeks, Lee has a word of advice for graduating seniors as they make their way to the big stage this May.
Less about being perfect and knowing exactly what you want. It's more about being proactive and thinking about what would be a good fit for you.
Reporting for Temple Street, this is Matt Durkin.
Lee says she hopes to expand her program to colleges throughout the greater Boston area. I love when there's a program in place that empowers women.
Many people rely on TV news as a primary information source to keep updated on local and world events. Cecilia Favela joined the executive producer of one of the most important newscasts in Boston and has a story.
I recently was going through family videos, and I have a video of myself at 7 years old looking at the camera, pretending to be a news anchor, saying that I want to be a producer someday. I don't even think I knew what that meant.
For Mike Fahey, being an executive producer at Channel 7 has been a dream come true.
This is the station that I've always wanted to work at. This is my dream job. The only thing that I would ever consider leaving for would be a news director job.
Now that he has more than 10 years in the news industry, he says there are 2 moments that were the turning points of his career.
So I still remember my boss calling me in and saying, I have bigger plans for you. I want to make you an executive producer. I was 24 years old. I was completely, not unexperienced, but, I was just shocked to be given such a huge opportunity at such a young age. And then most recently, the memory that I had that's always going to stick out is winning my first Emmy. And when I heard my name called, I could not believe that I had won. I still don't think it's really fully set in.
Fahey admits his journey from small markets to a 10-top market like Boston wasn't easy.
I've worked on every shift humanly imaginable. I've worked on every show here at 7 humanly imaginable. And I've always had that crisis of conscience. Is this really what I want to do? Is it worth the sacrifice? Is it worth not seeing my wife? Is it worth, working through the overnight? Is all that worth it? But recently there have been a few huge breaking news events that have totally reaffirmed for me why I do this.
But the importance of news to a working democracy keeps him committed to his job.
To know that people are watching, to know that I'm making a difference, to know that people care about what I'm doing, I'll do it every day until I can do it no more.
And to aspiring new journalists, Fahey shares some encouraging words.
The industry is not in crisis. There are people who you're going to meet who are going to tell you that journalism is dying. There are people you're going to meet who's going to tell you that there's no point in doing this for a living. Those are the people who should wonder about what they're doing for a living. That first contract is intimidating. The money's not great. It's scary to think about moving somewhere totally foreign from your family or friends or whatever. But once you have a contract under your belt, you're going to be employable. You're going to be making a whole lot more money than you were initially. And you're going to have kind of the world at your fingertips.
For Temple Street, Cecilia Favela.
It's really nice to hear such inspiring words from the people in the journalism industry.
I'm very excited that we have 2 professors that work in the industry. I personally had the chance to work with Dan Janik, but have you ever had the chance to work with Mike Fahey?
I did. I have him currently, and he's great.
That's exciting. And now it's time for our critic at large, Jessica DiLorenzo. We can't wait to hear your take on the Pepsi controversy.
Thanks, ladies. In recent weeks, Pepsi took the internet by storm with an ad that was termed by critics as off the mark and tone deaf, especially on Twitter. The ad features supermodel Kendall Jenner and suggests to viewers that a can of Pepsi can solve major social problems, such as police brutality at protests. It did not take long for massive negative reactions from a broad range of viewers. According to Amobi Brand Intelligence, digital content engagement for Pepsi soared the next day by 366%. I know I personally contributed to that statistic as I searched for Pepsi on Twitter for the first time ever. I was trying to find the ad so I could see it with my own eyes. At first, I had assumed that it couldn't possibly be as bad as everyone was making it out to be. But boy, was I wrong. The data analysis found that 31% of people had labeled the ad as tone deaf and 10% had tagged it as the worst ever. And I would have to agree. There are many issues with this ad. First, Pepsi is totally capitalizing on and trivializing the Black Lives Matter movement. This ad detracts from the importance of the movement. Really, Pepsi, you think a can of soda will solve problems like police brutality? Seriously? Also, out of all the diverse supermodels that could have been chosen to represent this product, you chose Kendall Jenner, a privileged white woman. She's a supermodel that has never spoken out or supported the Black Lives Matter movement or taken a stand on any political issue for that matter. This ad was also done in-house, which means, Pepsi, this ad is all on you. To me, this suggests that the ad probably reflects attitudes pervasive across your corporation. Maybe if you had hired an outside ad agency, they could have gotten a better and more real-life perspective. What I find so interesting is that some aspects of this production really show creativity in some extremely eye-catching shots. Even the song is catchy. I understand that Pepsi had hoped to create a positive ad campaign, but they were off the mark on so many levels. In the end, the ad completely disregards the loss of life and human rights issues raised by the many people who have taken part in these protests. Nearly 3,000 Black people have been killed by police since August of 2014, when Michael Brown was shot in Ferguson, Missouri. These numbers are tragic. Pepsi, this is hardly an issue to capitalize on. In response to the outrage, Pepsi executives said the company, and I quote, was trying to project a global message of unity, peace, and understanding. Clearly, we missed the mark and we apologize. We did not intend to make light of any serious issue. The ad was then promptly removed, and the company further apologized for putting Kendall Jenner in this position. Okay, Pepsi, at least you recognized your mistake and acted fast by taking the ad down. But apologizing to Kendall Jenner? She's an adult and should have known what she was getting herself into. I know she is a reality star, but this ironically shows how out of touch she is with reality. Both celebrities and corporate companies need to experience life like everyday people before attempting to sell us on a social message in a bottle or a can. As for me, I don't need my beverages or my messages sugar-coated. Cheers.
Thanks, Jess. That was right on. Now I feel like we all need to sip some tea after that insight.
That's all we have for today's show. From all of us here at Temple Street, thanks for watching. I'm Adriana Millsap Johnson.
And I'm Mary Leah Boucher. We'll see you next time.